Hi, this is Russ Condy with Club Benchmarking. I'm just going to give you a really quick overview of the Club Benchmarking platform so you have a good idea of what's inside the platform. There are four sections: finance and operations, compensation and benefits, policies and procedures, and forecasting. They each have a different function within the platform, and obviously they can be used depending on what it is you're trying to resolve at the time, whether it's bringing information to the board, making budget decisions, hiring some new key employees. Depending on what you're up against at any one particular time, you can access the section that will help provide you information, very fact-oriented information, to help A, educate, and B, make better decisions for what you're up against. We'll just take a minute and jump into finance and operations. Basically, what we've done is we've taken a club and broken it down into its natural components. In each of these sections are anywhere from 15 to 25 different data points, and those data points really are the collection of data that forms the baseline for us doing all the ratios and calculations and charts and pie graphs and things like that. So the nuts and bolts is getting the data into the system, which is very, very simple. We actually take clubs' trial balance files right out of their accounting system and map all this data in. So there's literally no financial entry effort around using the club benchmarking platform. Once your data is in the platform, you'll note there are a few different sections. One is called My Club. That's where you manage and maintain your own data. Nobody ever sees your club's data. Only folks that have logins within that club might have access to that individual data. Compare Clubs is where you compare the specific individual detailed data points from club to club, or one club to a group of clubs. And then there's a reporting function under a tab called My Reports, and that's really where most clubs should be spending most of their time, because that's where we do the math among all that baseline data, and that's where we generate all the key performance indicators that we talk about, gross margins, payroll ratios, capital ratios, pie charts, things like that. That really becomes the powerful tool for presenting and understanding your own club through its own data. By looking at the Compare Clubs information, again, a detailed view. Everything you do in club benchmarking can be filtered. There's a wide range of filters here, and depending on what you're up against, you might set different filters one day to the next day. Right now, I've just simply said I want to look at other clubs with golf and about my revenue range. I'm in the $3 to $5 million revenue range, so that's what I'll take a look at. And then every detail in the database is now me against those clubs that fit my size. And everything you look at shows you 25th percentile, 50th percentile, 75th percentile, and where I sit, where my club is exactly. And we love graphs, so everything that you look at in club benchmarking can be output into a graphical format, and the little circle on the chart always indicates where your club is on that curve. So what makes us different than, let's say, standard industry reports that are out there is the fact that A, you can define the peer set you want to compare to in real time, and B, you always see exactly where your club is against the peer set for the indicator you're looking at. It turns it from a report, which generally provides industry information, to really club benchmarking being a club management tool, and one that is very, very powerful for aligning discussions either with the staff or certainly in the boardroom or finance committee, where running without this type of financial data can be very, very challenging, to say the least. It is a database, so we capture 1 year on top of another year on top of another year. So not only does this become an institutional history for your club, but it becomes an institutional history for your club against the backdrop of the history of the industry. So it becomes very, very simple to say, hey, what was the trend of our club from a financial sustainability perspective over the last few years? And how does that seem to dovetail with the trend that the industry overall saw, or perhaps maybe some subset of the industry? So it's very easy to jump from year to year, change your filters, look at different views or perspectives. Finally, we get into the reporting section. This, again, is kind of where I always say is where the rubber hits the road, because it's where we do the math and calculations among all that baseline data. So we have report formats that come out in tabular reports. We have a lot of graphical reports. I think a lot of you folks have seen us present these charts over various education sessions. But for a tabular view of an executive dashboard report, here it is on one page. Talk about power, bringing it to the boardroom. Let's look at the revenue. Let's look at the gross margin. Dues ratio, operating results, capital ratios, et cetera, et cetera. I have other videos on the website that talk about how to interpret all these different key performance indicators, but it's a very clean, easy way to present a fair amount of data on one single page. And then, of course, a lot of our data is presented in PowerPoint automatically generated slideshows. These, you click the report button and they come out pre-formatted like this, so you can go right into a meeting and say, hey, let's take a look at our numbers against whatever peer set we're looking at. And it's amazing how quickly it changes this discussion when you can put the facts on the table and say, well, here's where we are. Now let's discuss if that's a problem or not, and do we need to make decisions around that. But when you don't have the baseline understanding of where is it that we're starting from, it's very, very challenging to have a discussion around, where should we be going. Compensation benefits is a great section. It gives you position by position comp data, allowances, education levels, tenure. So for a very, very broad range of positions inside the club, whether you're hiring somebody or whether you're just looking to do some salary reviews, very quickly with the click of one button, you can run whole HR reports, which give you essentially an HR worksheet for every position in the club. Very powerful and a really easy, clean way to have your, a good grasp and a good real-time report on your comp data. Of course, retirement plans is a piece of that. Insurance plans, a big cost for all clubs, and understanding either the generosity or perhaps the lack of generosity of your insurance plans is pretty easily understood by using this section. Very quickly, there is a financial forecasting section which takes that executive dashboard KPI perspective but applies it forward-looking in a predictive view. So it's very simple to enter just a little bit of budget data that we need to generate those executive dashboard KPIs, but now you've got that in a forward-looking view. Very, very powerful, and I tell you, nothing inspires confidence like entering the year knowing that if we hit these numbers, this is what our KPI results will look like, as opposed to waiting for the end of the year and say, geez, I wonder how we did. So it's a great perspective to use for predictive management at the club. And then there's a policies and procedures section, which looks about your governance structure, committee structures, president terms, board member terms, all those kind of things that they don't change annually, but they offer a great perspective on the strategic planning process and on the governance process and setup of your club. So the combination of all four of these sections becomes very powerful because it really becomes something you use quite often over the course of the year, whether it's budget time, it's review time, hiring somebody, or just board members have questions. Having a resource like this you can go to and tap into data, not just to respond to them, but to actually proactively bring some information like these executive dashboard KPIs into the boardroom and start to align the dialogue around, these are the things that the industry considers important. We measure those things too, and here's how we look, as opposed to, starting with that blank sheet of paper every time you get a new board president. So it's a great validated set of data and becomes very powerful for any club to utilize. I hope that helped, and obviously if you have any questions, feel free to contact us, and we're happy to help you out. Thank you.